Hello friends, I'm Meghna Thomas and welcome back to the official channel of Epaulettes Aviation Pilot Training Academy, your route to the cockpit. If you remember, in my previous video, I had spoken to you in detail about the various steps and procedures involved in becoming a commercial pilot license holder in India. And if you remember, in the same video, I had also discussed about the various exams that we have to appear for before we get a commercial pilot's license. Yes, in today's video, I am going to discuss with you about one of the very important exams for obtaining your commercial pilot license, and this exam is the R.T.R exam, also known as the Radio Telephony Restricted Aeromobile or Aeronautical exam. I'm sure you all must be aware that in air we communicate using a radio. We communicate to the ATC, we communicate with the other aircrafts that are operating in the sky. So time to time you need to keep updating the ATC with your position. You need to report to the other aircrafts about where you are exactly and to know where the other aircrafts are. So basically all the communication on board happens on a radio. And to operate this radio, every pilot has to have a license. Yes, apart from having a commercial pilot license, you also need a license known as the FRTOL, which is also called the Flight Radio Telephony Operator's License, which is issued to you against a valid Indian RTRA license. Let me begin with telling you what exactly is an RTRA. RTRA is the Radio Telephony Restricted Aeronautical. It is a professional license of an international standard as per the general guidelines given under the International Radio Regulations. In India, this license is issued by the Wireless Planning and Coordination Wing of the Department of Telecommunication, Government of India. The RTR license is mandatory for a student who aspires to become a commercial pilot. This license is also important for the aircraft maintenance engineers, flight dispatchers, basically whoever will use the radio on board has to have an RTRA license. The RTRA exam is conducted 4 times a year, and the cities in which this exam is conducted are Chennai, New Delhi, Hyderabad, Kolkata and Mumbai. Now let's talk more about the RTRA examination. The RTR examination is conducted in 2 parts. There is part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is a 25-minute session in which a practical test in regulations and procedures is given. It is also known as transmission. In case a person clears it, he is asked to appear in part 2. Part 2 is an oral exam in regulation and procedures and radio principles and practice. It is conducted by the Chief Examiner, who is from WPC, and one representative from DGCA or AAI, that is Airports Authority of India. Now for all those of you who are wondering what exactly happens in the RTR Part 1, well, in the Part 1 exam, the candidate will be given a question paper which contains 5 questions for 100 marks and a time period of 25 minutes. In these 25 minutes, you have to solve these questions which are basically on the various situations that can arise during aircraft handling. And this exam has to be both written and transmitted. The format of transmission is as per the Aeronautical Information Publications, India. Now the passing mark for part 1 is 50 marks, and the result of the part 1 is announced within a few minutes after you appearing for the exam. And if you clear your part 1 exam, you are eligible to appear for the part 2 exam, which is a Viva exam. Now let's talk about what happens in the part 2 exam.
So for the part 2 examination, which will be an oral exam, and you will be asked questions by an examiner from WPC, and there will be examiners each from DGCA and AAI. Now they can ask you questions from anywhere. They can be about flying, about navigation, your instruments on board. You know, they could ask you anything about your electricity, your electrical supply in your aircraft. So you have to be very thorough when you go for your part 2. Generally what happens is we really prepare ourselves for the part 1, because of course, you know, only if you finish your part 1, that is only if you clear your part 1, are you allowed to move to part 2. But my friends, if you do not clear your part 2, you stand failed in your RTR exam. So it is very important to clear part 1 as well as part 2 for you to get your RTR license. which means that you have to be really thorough with your part 2 exam as well. So the topic that the questions can be asked from are as follows. The questions can be asked from basic electricity, radio navigational aids, working of a transmitter, receiver, modulation, HF-VHF communication, regulations, flight plan, DGCA and cars. The syllabus for the same is available on the WPC website and it's as per the ITU rules and regulations. ITU stands for International Telecommunication Union, in case you were wondering what that is. The Part 2 exam results are not announced on the same day. So basically what happens is the RTR exam is for a span of almost a month. All the students who apply are not called on the same day. Everyone's called in batches. So maybe, I might be called on a particular day. My friend might be called on another day. So it is like that. Not everyone is called on the same day. So what happens is once the exam is over, like from the last date of exam, it takes about 1 week to 10 days for them to announce the Part 2 results, and it is announced on their official website. So even if you feel that you have really done very well in your Part 2 exam, don't be very excited. Just wait for another week or so, or whenever the result comes out. You can only be sure once you see your name on that list. But when you see your name on that list, I tell you, it is such a relief. Now, once the RTR Part 2 results are announced, you have to fill your form for your RTR license. Basically, for how long the validity of your licenses are asked for. If you want it for 20 years or you want it for a lifetime. Now, there is a prescribed fee for both. 20 years validity RTR license would cost you about 5,000 rupees, and a lifetime valid RTR license is for 10,000. So this, my dear friends, was a short video on what exactly happens in the RTR exam and how do you get your RTR license. If you would like to watch more such videos and updates, please do keep following us. And don't keep waiting, it's time for you to fly.